There's nothing like a good kung fu movie, is there? But which films are champions of the genre? Here's our list of the best kung fu movies of all time. Does one of your favorites make the cut? Commonly praised as one of the best kung fu movies of the 1990s, Iron Monkey was proof that even though its golden period had ended, the kung fu genre still had some life in it. Based in part on Chinese folk hero Wang Fei-hung and his father's encounter with the mysterious martial artist known only as the Iron Monkey, it's a film that boasts some first-rate action scenes full of lightning-fast kicks and epic slow-motion action. Donnie Yen stars as Wang Keiying, a Chinese physician and skilled martial artist forced to battle the masked Robin Hood-like vigilante called the Iron Monkey after his son is kidnapped by a corrupt city official. When the Iron Monkey proves his heroism by saving Wang Keiying's son, the two fighters set out to combat the city's bureaucratic politicians together. Originally released in 1993, Iron Monkey was warmly received by critics and moviegoers, earning an approval rating of 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was even listed number 99 on Empire magazine's The 100 Best Films of World Cinema list. Iron Monkey would later see an expanded release in the US after Quentin Tarantino convinced Miramax to acquire the distribution rights. The beloved director Kung Fu superfans' stamp of approval broadened its appeal even further.
The toadstool is immensely strong and immune to nearly any weapon. When it's properly used, it's almost invincible.
A kung fu film with a loyal cult following, Five Deadly Venoms is a classic product of the Shaw Brothers studio, the seeds of which launched in 1925 and would go on to become Hong Kong's largest production company. Yang Tia is a young martial artist instructed by his dying master to seek out the other former students, all of whom have become powerful masters of a specific fighting style, and to eliminate any who are using their abilities for nefarious purposes. These 5 students' fighting styles have each earned a specific name: the centipede, the snake, the scorpion, the lizard, and the toad. They are all based on the 5 poisonous creatures from Chinese folklore, and Yang Tia was taught a little bit of each combat style. By today's standards, 5 Deadly Venoms may be seen as somewhat cheesy and dated, but it is exactly this over-stylization that makes it an enjoyable, essential kung fu romp and mandatory viewing for any would-be fan of the genre. One of the most influential kung fu movies ever made, it's been referenced in everything from Kill Bill to Tupac's 5 Deadly Venoms. Additionally, the movie's dialogue appears in several Wu-Tang Clan songs like The Mystery of Chess Boxing and Intro, Shaolin Finger Jab. After Bruce Lee's death in 1973, the kung fu film entered a strange state of limbo. At its peak of popularity, but suddenly without its most prominent leading man, genre producers desperately scrambled for potential stars to succeed Lee. Few actors matched his intensity, gravitas, and on-screen presence. Instead, they turned to an actor who had the physicality but wanted to take the genre in a wholly unexpected direction. That actor was Jackie Chan. When speaking to the New York Times in 1995 about his early years in the business, Chan said, "I wanted to be like a Chaplin or Buster Keaton, but all the martial arts directors I worked with wanted me to copy Bruce Lee." After making a name for himself with the 1978 Hong Kong kung fu comedy Drunken Master, Chan tried and failed to break into Hollywood. He left the American film industry dissatisfied and disappointed in the quality of films like Battle Creek Brawl. Resolving to make his own movie, Chan went to work co-writing, directing, and starring in Police Story, the first in a series of successful action crime movies. In Police Story, Chan plays a Hong Kong police detective framed for the murder of another officer by a powerful drug kingpin. Blending slapstick comedy with large-scale action sequences, Police Story was a massive blockbuster in Eastern markets when first released. The movie went on to win the 1986 Hong Kong Film Award for Best Film. Matt Zoller's Sights of RogerEbert.com praised the movie's famous mall fight scene, calling it a masterpiece of choreography and one of the greatest stunts in the history of movies. In 2016, it was ranked the 4th best action film in a Time Out poll, which consisted of critics, filmmakers, and stunt actors. Master of the Flying Guillotine is a kung fu film within the wuxia genre, a martial arts movie blending elements of fantasy and magical realism traditionally set in ancient China. And while it may be lesser known than most other kung fu films that came out around the same time, it remains an influential and enjoyable movie. A sequel to director, co-writer, and star Jimmy Yang Wu's earlier One-Armed Boxer, Master of the Flying Guillotine sees the previous film's titular protagonist defending himself from a vengeful blind assassin wielding a deadly buzzsaw hat that decapitates anyone who wears it. Named by Quentin Tarantino as one of his favorite films of all time, it's easy to see his attraction to the flick. It's pure 70s camp, full of cartoonish violence and flashy, gloriously ridiculous fighting moves. As an example, in one of the film's most famous scenes, Jimmy Wang's boxer manages to punch the assassin through the roof and into his own coffin. Since its release, Master of the Flying Guillotine has been praised by publications like the New York Times as one of the best kung fu films. It has even been referred to as the, quote, holy grail of Hong Kong martial arts movies of the 70s by Los Angeles Times' Kevin Thomas. In the 1990s, the kung fu genre saw a resurgence in popularity. This was thanks in large part to films starring Donnie Yen and Jet Li, who were among the most charismatic and proficient martial artists turned actors to come along since Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. In the film that rocketed Lee to stardom, the actor would appear as the legendary folk hero Wong Fei-hung. A physician as talented in the medical field as he is in kung fu, Lee's Wong Fei-hung trains a local militia to combat a criminal martial arts syndicate, as well as encroaching Western colonizers. Praised by critics, Once Upon a Time in China retains an 88% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes and was nominated for Best Film at the 11th Hong Kong Film Awards. The movie is mostly remembered today for its incredible action scenes and for Lee using everything from an umbrella to bamboo sticks as lethal weapons. But its story about retaining one's cultural roots in the face of rapid westernization makes for a surprisingly political movie hidden under the guise of a kung fu flick. Another undisputed classic from Shaw Brothers Studio, the 36th Chamber of Shaolin is regarded by many fans of the genre as one of the best kung fu films ever made. It jump-started the careers of both its director Lau Carleone and its star Gordon Liu in the Eastern film industry. Liu plays a young student named Liu Yud, whose entire school is systematically killed off by a brutal government regime. Seeking vengeance, the student travels to a Shaolin temple in order to learn kung fu. He is put to the test when he must pass through the temple's 36 chambers, each emphasizing key combat and fighting techniques to sharpen one's mind and body. A rare film where the training scenes are as meticulously orchestrated and fun to watch as the actual fight sequences, the 36th Chamber of Shaolin was a milestone in the kung fu genre. It was proof that memorable kung fu films could still emerge despite the drop-off in popularity that post-Bruce Lee flicks suffered in the late 70s. Praised by critics, it has an audience approval rating of 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and was listed at number 22 in Time Out's poll of the 101 Best Action Movies. It was also a direct influence on the Wu-Tang Clan. In addition to referencing the film in the name of their debut album, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, Wu-Tang Clan member Master Killa took his name from one of the film's alternate titles, The Master Killer. Sequels rarely measure up to the success and popularity of their predecessors. However, the legend of Drunken Master not only manages to match the strengths of its original movie, it surpasses it entirely. Also known as Legend Master 2, The Legend of Drunken Master is a major improvement on the original Drunken Master in every conceivable way. The sequel features better stunts, better action, and better comedy. Released 16 years after the original Drunken Master, Chan once again stars as folk hero Wong Fei-hung, a master of drinking and martial arts, both of which he combines to form his unique drunken boxing fighting style. Pressured by his father to give up drinking and fighting for good, Wong Fei-hung must decide between obeying his father's wishes and stopping a foreign plot to steal priceless artifacts from his homeland. The Legend of Drunken Master earned near universal acclaim, including a number of prestigious awards following its release. In 2015, the British Film Institute included it on their 10 Best Action Movies list. When discussing the final showdown in his review of the film for the Chicago Sun-Times, Roger Ebert said, "It may not be possible to film a better fight scene." Kung fu films seldom win or earn nominations from international film festivals. In 2000, however, an wuxia film broke through the mold, delivering an action-packed narrative with a surprising amount of tender emotion hidden beneath its violent surface. In Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hong Kong action star Chow Yun-fat plays veteran warrior Li Mubai, who entrusts his faithful 400-year-old sword known as the Green Destiny to his friend after he decides to retire. When a nimble young thief steals the sword for herself, Mubai's friend embarks on a journey to recover it, facing her own complex feelings toward her old friend along the way. Blending romance with kung fu doesn't always make for a great combo, but in director Ang Lee's very capable hands, a tender portrait of forbidden love is delivered between rapid-fire kicks and captivating sword fights. Universally acclaimed upon release, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon won more than 40 awards. The film earned an Oscar nomination for Best Picture and won Best Foreign Language Film, Best Art Direction, Best Original Score, and Best Cinematography. It's also far and away the highest-grossing foreign language film ever released in the U.S.
靚仔，我忍你好耐㗎啦，出嚟啊！得啦，叻啦。
Kung Fu Hustle is a modern kung fu film more along the lines of a spoof than an homage to the martial arts genre. It was director, writer, and star Stephen Chow's follow-up to his hilarious hit Shaolin Soccer, a film that satirized the more recent stunts found in martial arts flicks of the early 2000s. Kung Fu Hustle was designed as a parody of classic kung fu movies, featuring several retired genre actors in prominent roles. In the film, Chow stars as Sing, an aspiring low-level criminal trying to make a name for himself as a legitimate bad guy by joining the infamous Axe Gang. When the Axe Gang begins to wreak havoc on a local slum called Pigsty Alley, only to find it populated by several kung fu masters who have gone into hiding, Sing must decide whether to join the gang or save the neighborhood from certain destruction. While the fight scenes are incredibly well done, it's the movie's comedic style that makes Kung Fu Hustle so enjoyable. Abandoning the laws of physics completely, characters are able to move with cartoonish speed and agility, leading to a glowing review by Roger Ebert in which he refers to it as Jackie Chan and Buster Keaton meet Quentin Tarantino and Bugs Bunny. Praised by everyone from James Gunn to Bill Murray, it may not have the most hard-hitting action, but it's definitely the funniest kung fu movie you're likely to find anywhere. The kung fu genre may have reached its peak with Bruce Lee, but more recent movies have kept the genre alive for a new generation to enjoy. Foremost among these is Ip Man, a fictionalized biopic about the Grand Master of the martial art, Wing Chun, who is known for training some of the world's greatest martial artists, including Bruce Lee. The first in a 5-film series, Ip Man stars Donnie Yen as the legendary martial artist, who faces constant challenges from local combat experts and professional soldiers trying to prove themselves during the Sino-Japanese War. While the historical accuracy of the film is debatable, the success it achieved is not. Earning a positive reception from critics, the movie would go on to launch a popular film franchise, ignite Yen's career, and earn heaps of awards. In Variety magazine's review of the flick, Derek Ellie wrote, Yen, who's taking on real star charisma in middle age, is aces as Ip, with a simple dignity that exactly mirrors the movie's own and a gracefulness in combat that's very different from his trademark whiplash style. On Rotten Tomatoes, the movie has an 86% approval rating, with the critical consensus stating, at once beholden to the established conventions of the genre and delightfully subversive of them, Ip Man is one of the most exciting and refreshingly character-driven martial arts films in years. A man who adores all things film, when Quentin Tarantino set out to create his own martial arts movie in the early 2000s, he blended all of his favorite B-movie genres together into the massive kung fu extravaganza that is Kill Bill. Spanning 2 films and clocking in at a total runtime of 4 hours, Kill Bill stars Uma Thurman as a woman initially known only as the Bride. She was left for dead by her former top-notch mercenary team led by her ex-lover, Bill. Waking from the coma he and his gang put her in, Thurman's bride embarks on a globe-trotting mission to hunt down all of her former teammates who wronged her, eventually coming face-to-face with Bill himself. one of Tarantino's classics, the ingenuity of Kill Bill lies in its endless references to kung fu films near and dear to his heart. A lovingly made homage to a movie genre he clearly holds dear, it was the subject of widespread critical praise. It earned several BAFTA and Golden Globe nominations, including Best Actress and Best Supporting Actor. In many ways, what Clint Eastwood or John Wayne was for the Western, Bruce Lee was for martial arts movies. But while Eastwood and Wayne had decades and dozens of films to establish their legacies, Lee did it in a fraction of that time. Enter the Dragon shows Lee as a skilled martial artist sent undercover to compete in a fighting tournament organized by a dangerous international criminal. Almost inarguably the most influential kung fu movie of all time, Enter the Dragon is considered Lee's masterpiece. It's also one of the most financially successful films ever made, grossing over 400 times its estimated budget of $850,000. At the time of its release, Enter the Dragon earned mixed to average reviews, though later critics would be far more generous, complimenting the movie's action, music, and Lee's performance. The New York Times' Howard Thompson wrote of the film, "The picture is expertly made and well meshed. It moves like lightning and brims with color. It is also the most savagely murderous and numbing hand hacker, not a gun in it, you will ever see anywhere." The enduring influence of Enter the Dragon can be found not only in nearly every kung fu film that has followed since, but in modern video game series, manga, and anime as well. The plot of the film resembles the basic premise of Mortal Kombat, and the movie has been cited as a key influence on the Dragon Ball franchise. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.